Hi, Zenu.
Hi. Good morning.
Good afternoon for me. Where are you? You in China?
Yeah, I'm in China. Yeah, so
It's pretty late for you then. Yeah, well,
it's
sorry
okay.
about that. So one
Yeah,
of the
no
things
problem.
I want to be doing, in fact, could you just give me your email address in the chat, because I want to get in touch with people about doing more work in Asia Pac,
Okay.
and having a person in I'd love to be talking to you about it specifically. It'd be really helpful. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much indeed. So one of the things I want to do is have some more meetings at times which are friendlier for people in Asia Pacific. So that would be good, I think. So it could be something which is adjacent. So it might be something like, Rust or WebAssembly or whatever it may be. We didn't specify that.
Okay.
Was that Mike or was that someone else?
Yeah, Mike, was the I may have missed it. There's the committee that is supposed to be tasked with things like outreach to regulators and public entities. Was there?
So there's no specific committee which is tasked with that. There is a subcommittee, a SIG, attached to the TAC, who is working on regulatory and governance issues, and they are and since this survey, one of the things that they're looking at is in fact more involvement with the regulators and standards. They already started doing it, but we've pushed that on a bit more.
Okay.
One of the nice things.
Go
ahead.
That's one of the things that I think we need to, as a body.
Yeah, you'll see more of that in the next set of answers, believe me.
Okay, cool.
And I'll talk about some of the ways we've started doing these things towards the end as well of the presentation. But no, you're quite right.
There's a guidance on from ENISA, European Securities Agency. I don't know what all the acronym letters stand for, but the nice thing about that is they reviewed like privacy preserving technologies on using some framework, but then under with the intent of like conformance to GDPR, or able to people to conform to GDPR. And confidential compute had a section in there that was deemed to be state of the art based on the maturity of the technology. And so I was thinking that in this light, the executive branch here has said, oh well, we want all executive agencies to operate under zero trust framework, et cetera, et cetera. But I don't know like what that meant in terms of actual implementation. We've kind of like picked up on, well, here's what we think, meaning like Beekeeper AI, when we talk to customers, like what this means and how confidential compute can augment it. But is there any inroads into that for confidential compute, into that kind of policy framework?
So firstly, please send me a link to that document. We're collecting those. I was going to come to this later on, but whilst you said it, please do that. Secondly, I will talk about this very shortly. These are all the right questions, and I'm very pleased they're happening. You're back, Kate. Everything all right?
Hey, I'm back. Sorry about internet, but are we on this page or moved on?
Let's move on to the next one. That'd be great. Thank you. So this is where I start talking about non-technical activities and questions, and what do people want us to do? And again, we've got the mode in red, and standards body and regulatory involvement are the highest, with increasing industry visibility and involvement as the up there as well. So the questions that both Mike and Alan have been asking around standards and regulator clearly are things that matter a lot to the rest of the membership as well, and I'm not surprised. Does that kind of answer part of the first part of the question that you guys had?
Yeah.
What we're doing about it, I'll put in next. So again, these are the gives you even better visibility into this. So industry visibility is clearly all the sentiments high, but there's nothing there that people hate, frankly. This has been one of the difficulties of the survey, in that when people are enthusiastic about pretty much everything you do, it's difficult to prioritize. But at least we can find things that we're not doing enough of and try and push those on a bit. Let's go to the next one. Thank you, Kate. Right, so this is what do people feel that we should be doing in terms of member stuff. People would like to see meetups. Increasing numbers is important, but also end user recruitment. These are all things we need to do more of. If people had said, if one of these had been very low, that would have been a useful thing to know, and we could have taken it on board. But sadly, in terms of things to do, they're all quite high. So we're going to be doing that next. So yeah, we can move on. This is the same sort of thing, really. Right. So this is an interesting one. I specifically asked about what we should be doing in terms of conferences, and the clear winner here is speaking at conferences, followed by exhibiting and arranging and the other bits and pieces. But a clear winner here is speaking, and this is interesting because although I am employed, by the LF to do work for the CCC, and Helen and Kurt are also, employed to do stuff for the CCC. The rest of the CCC is its members. So I am putting in quite a lot of speaking submissions and CFPs and stuff, and trying to get as many things as I can. But there's a large degree to which we need you folks to be doing this as well, but also identifying conferences and, if you run your own conferences, trying to make sure that it doesn't need to be me, it doesn't need to be, a member of the sort of CCC office, but we can help if you're going to be speaking, or if you want panelists and things, we can absolutely do that. So the speaking is really important, but it can't just be me. Partly because I work part-time on this, and partly because I can only be in one place at once, generally. Any questions about? Oh yeah, this is again the same sort of sentiment, but not sentiment. The breakdown here. Any questions about conferences specifically before we move on? Nope. Okay, let's carry on. So the last big section was the question of the report. We did 2 years ago now. We commissioned a report from the Everest group about the confidential computing market, CAGR, all those sorts of things, and it's clearly been useful. And what I think is important here is it's been specifically quite a lot more useful to general members than to premium members. And I think that makes sense. If you're a general member, typically they're smaller and startups, and therefore they don't necessarily have access to some of the figures and the trending data that is available to larger members, to premium members. So I think that it's important that we all consider what the report should look like and ensure that it fits what general members need, at least as much as it fits what premium members need. Next slide, please. Yeah, so just to give you a bit of idea, and we'll actually look at some slightly easier to see data next, please. So this is just, I found words which were likely to be, that allowed us to sort of tag some of these and to group some of them. And standards and regulatory bodies, are by far the most important thing to folks. I filtered out non-members here because I felt that was appropriate. Working on what market looks like and use cases also important, and AI, but engagement from the report in what the standards and the regulatory outlook seems to be, and where it's going, what the trends are, is clearly important, as it has been through all the other questions that we got responses to. Any questions on this before we kind of move on to how we've thought about how we're going to use this data and these responses? Nope. Okay, let's carry on. So this survey led to a number of other conversations and follow-up discussions. And hopefully, if you've been looking at the mailing lists, you'll have seen a number of things that we've kicked off. I think we can sort of group them in like this. These are not prioritized. End use. Hello? Is that a question from someone? Nope. End user involvement and use cases are clearly important, and Mike Ferren-Jones is kicking off something around that right now. Continued technical work, I don't think that's going to stop. Regulator standards engagement and industry visibility, play into each other, because the regulators aren't going to mandate or even encourage use of confidential computing if it's not visible in the industry, and it will become more visible in the industry if regulated standards are involved. So they kind of they're virtuous circle there, hopefully. The next thing, which came partly from the survey responses and partly from conversations, is there is clearly a really interesting and vibrant market in the Asia Pacific region, and we do not currently have good engagement there. That's partly because most of our meetings are at this kind of time, which is very fine for people on the West Coast, okay for people in Europe, and fine for people on the East Coast, but really doesn't fit people in Asia Pac. And the other thing is that we haven't been going to conferences in that region particularly. So we're kicking off two separate streams because things are a bit different. One specifically targeting Japan, where we have a number of our existing members who've been seeing very interesting traction there, and the other in the more general Asia Pac region. We have members in Singapore, in PRC. We have interest from India and elsewhere. So I'm looking to do that, and that involves looking at meetups, looking at conferences. I did send out an email, depending on your time, yesterday or today, encouraging people to get back to me with any things, any ideas, any thoughts about how we can kick this off. We now have a number of conferences, and we will talk about this a bit later on where that hits. But those are the things we're looking at. Regulator standards engagement, we've also started something there. And in terms of the industry visibility, we started the marketing messaging work, which again, I urge you to get involved with, because we need really good conversation there. The last two things, member meetups, I think we'll get to, and conference speaking, I'm getting as many things out there as I can, and as again, I've asked already on this in this meeting, if there's opportunities at your conferences, let us know how we can help. So that's it. That's my my brief, well, hopefully brief survey roundup. If you have any questions now, please let me know. Let's talk about them. But also, please just get in touch. I will be publishing on the blog a kind of quite long and detailed article looking at all of these things. It's taken quite a long time to write because A, I've got other things going, and B, because I want to make it quite detailed. But it will be available as well. These are not secret numbers. We want them to be visible to everybody, including external folks. So that's me. Any questions?
Yeah, would love to hear from everybody, from the questions and, the answers we've collected, and, takeaways that Mike just summarized for us. Any feedback for next time would be definitely welcome here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Any comments?
I just had a comment question. So you talked about Asia Pacific, but I think back in the survey results, there was pretty close level of interest for Central South America. And I don't know if I mean, haven't, at least in our meetings, seen anyone from those markets participate. So I just wanted to
yeah, no, good question. The question for that one was not, should we be doing work in that area, but does your business operate in that area? So for instance, Intel, of course it does, right? Microsoft, of course it does. When we looked at the existing membership in Asia Pac, we have some, we don't have any in LATAM. When we spoke to existing membership and said, you know, where do you want us to be focusing regionally? They immediately said Asia Pac and Japan. So that's, I'm absolutely not discounting doing stuff in LATAM. I've never been. Quite nice to pop down at some point. Lots of air miles.
Good thing is Nick is in there.
And Nick, indeed, he does do some stuff down there, which is actually rather helpful. So we're not without, you know, some effort happening down there, but we haven't pushed it for those reasons.
Right. Okay.
Well, that's a great call out, though.
Yeah.
We should definitely look into it.
A very good call.
Yeah, the APAC finding is not surprising. It never ceases to amaze me how much interest comes out of APAC, and that our teams in China and Japan are operating on largely out of view of what's happening in the in the US. You know, I think part of it's time zone difference, some of it's language, but there is a lot of different types of activity happening in those geos.
In fact, I spoke to one of your colleagues just this morning, Mike Jia Wen, I think, a distinguished engineer, I think, down there, to get some thoughts from him. And we want to engage with marketing folks and with sales folks and technical folks down there as well. So you're quite right. I think there's a lot for us to tap. And as we're thinking about things like messaging, we need to ensure that we are sensitive to the different needs and the different approaches that Asia Pac will have as we're putting together messaging, for instance.
Any other comment? Question? Right. Thank
Please
you, Mike.
come back to me if you have anything. Thank you for the time. I'm sorry it took so long. I really appreciate it.
No worries. All right, moving on to the events. We have quite a bit of outreach engagement shaping up. On the left-hand side is what's been either confirmed or near to confirming. And I have a separate slide for the DEF CON and the Diana Initiative and OSSEU. But we're sending some reps from our member companies, Intel and ARM, and potentially ByteDance as well, to attend the KubeCon Shanghai. And for KubeCon Shanghai, we're wanting to see if there is any offsite event that any of our member companies organizing and is interested in partnering with CCC. I would love to get in touch, so please reach out to me for that. And we just got connected with the folks at Foss Security Campus, and the event is in Berlin. And so we're looking to connect with our member companies in local market and see if we can represent CCC there. Next
we do have
up
quite a
is
few people around that part of the world. So yeah, if you know anyone, that'd be great. Sorry.
Yep. Next up is the KubeCon Chicago. We do not have any specific plan for this just yet, but it's worth exploring. And another new contact that we got is the Linux Security Plumbers. They're going to have a micro conference around confidential computing. So our outreach team will find some engagement opportunity there. And the call for paper is open for that one. So if you'd like to check out the event and to submit any content, I'll share the call for paper link in the next slide.
Yep.
And
can I just have a comment on security plumbers? So for those of you who don't know, this is the geekiest of geeky conferences. It's really low-level kernel folks, and that they're paying attention is very good for us. But it's not the sort of stuff that I would be, I'm fairly technical and I'm not putting anything in for this sort of stuff. If you have engineers who are doing stuff in this space, at kernel level or driver level, please get them to talk to put stuff in. It's such good visibility, but it's very, very low level technical stuff. Indeed.
Yeah. And since you're here, OSS Japan is just shaping up, as well as the PET Summit in Singapore. Mike, you want to add any high level opportunity?
Yeah, so OSS Japan, obviously, if we want to move to Japan market, it's a good place to do this. The PET Japan is a PET general, but there's an opportunity for us to sponsor about a quarter of that conference and to really shape it and be very, very visible and be moderating things like that. So that's a great opportunity in Singapore in November. So we're diving into that. We're just sorting out the details of the sponsorship deal.
Okay. And on the right-hand side is other events that we're keeping our eye out on. But as you can see from the list on the left, we need to find balance between the technical and business audience conferences. And that is definitely on the core team's mind as well. So Mike Purcell was mentioned that he kicked up the general marketing messaging plan. So we'll be looking to make some progress there. And we really encourage all members to make, connections and collaborate with us in any way.
Yeah,
So
we can't do stuff unless we know it's happening, is what it comes down to. So please let us know.
Yeah, and then I will compile all the links that I'm sharing here on the chat after I'm done sharing screen. But this is the Linux Plumber call for paper or call for proposal. Okay. And in just about a week or so, Nick will be present in Las Vegas supporting our sponsorships at these two conferences. So first, the Diana Initiative, we're able to lock in $5,000 for the DEI scholarship. And what that means is that we'll be able to cover about 9 students to be able to attend these 4 conferences, as well as their travel for the week in Vegas. And for DEF CON, we are going to be at the info booth, right at the entrance to the IoT Village. We'll have a good amount of a logo placement and on-site presence there. And the big one, so on the OSS EU Bilbao, here are the CCC activation items. So first of all, we're hosting a mini summit within this conference. We're working on the main focus for this summit at the moment, but at a high level, Mike Purcell helped to suggest the cover the use case deep dive, Europe local projects and open source community, and perhaps customer panel. And so if you have any content that can support these criteria, the call for proposals is open as well. And we'll have the link for that and later. So we highly encourage our members and projects to be part of this. And if you want to work closely with us on this in terms of like content development and speaker arrangement or anything, feel free to reach out to me. Other than the mini summit,
I'm going to go beyond that, and I'm going to say we need people to help organize this. Kate is doing fantastic work, as is Nick, and everyone's. We just need more people, particularly because Kate's not going to be able to be there in person. So if you have anyone who is involved with organizing your company's involvement in OSS EU, please push them in our direction, and we can see how we can work together.
Yeah, and this is our event, so this is really up to us.
We can do whatever we want with it, within reason.
So other than our mini summit, which is pretty exciting, and Mike is also accepted to speak at the main conference on the next day. We'll also have a CCC space in the attendee lounge, which should be a great opportunity to interact with attendees in a more casual environment. And so, yeah, and I briefly mentioned earlier, our objectives for this conference would be narrowed down to these 3. Any questions or comments from the group? Okay. We're on the right track, it sounds like. All right. Mike Farron Jones, do you have any update on this Wikipedia?
The mute button. No, there's no particular action on Wikipedia of late. Things have been pretty
Okay.
quiet.
Do we need to keep it on the agenda or not?
I don't think so. I think you can let this one go. I mean, if something happens, I'll bring it up during opens, but for now,
Yeah.
everything seemed to be pretty steady state.
Okay.
If
That's good to know.
that
Thank you.
attestation article comes to be, I would be very interested in talking more about that.
Yeah, so we do have the beginnings of an article, but I started off conversation, but there hasn't been as much to and fro on it as I would like. But it's not at the top of my list at the moment, I'm afraid. So I've not been spending too many cycles on it.
I know how that feels. No worries. I mean, if we do, actually, yeah, this is the next one. So the use cases. Well, I hope this is the same thing. This was the proposal that I brought forward a while back to create a white paper or some kind of an ebook or catalog of use cases to get people to kind of see more beyond just the functionality of confidential computing and see how it can build actual valuable use cases that they can look through this catalog and see, oh yeah, we've got that problem, or I'd like to do something like that. So last week, I think I previewed the collection spreadsheet. I've now got that posted and ready to go. The last communique I saw was, Mike, your message to Nick to start socializing that.
Yeah,
through
I'd
the various
forgotten that
channels.
he's away this week traveling. If you'd like me
Okay.
to kick that off, I'm happy to, or we can just wait for him to get back.
It's fine, whichever you prefer. I think you are feeling sensitive to the amount of communication
Stuff
you're
I
putting
put
out
out.
over
Yeah,
the
let's
channels.
if we can let him do it, that's fine. Okay, thank you.
But if I can go ahead and put in the chat the links to the spreadsheet and to the kind of explainer document, which is also linked out of the spreadsheet. If people want to start throwing in use case suggestions that we can begin building out this ebook, it would be great to go to initial publication with 15 or 20 to get the party started, and then we can continue to build from there. There's a sample entry that I put on the first line of the spreadsheet, so people can understand what I have in mind, or kind of what the expectation is, and hopefully this will get us going down the right path, and we can collect these up and publish them along with the technical papers.
I'd like to relate this. If I'm sorry, okay.
So did we have an agreement from the CC Summit OPEC on using the use case list that was submitted to the conference?
We haven't, to my knowledge, I don't think we've asked if we could use those. We could certainly.
I thought we had for some reason.
Well, I thought we had as well. Let's check. But Helen,
Okay.
are you able to talk? Check with them.
Yeah, I could check with them. Let me check with Nick too, because I thought he said that.
Yeah, I think we did. It's worth checking.
It might have been
right.
Nick. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And then Mike Franjos, so when we do have this list of things on your spreadsheet, would we be able to use it potentially for the OSSEU in September? Or kind of like cross.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's
Cross-reference.
the whole idea. In fact, I should probably note that on the spreadsheet, that by entering your stuff on here, you are you know, you are basically granting permission to,
Mhm.
you know, for us to
The
be able to use
CCC
it.
to use it, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I was going to relate this as well to, you know, just the general industry awareness. I think, you know, for those of us who have been close to confidential computing for a long time, and or sort of people who are techie, it's kind of obvious that you would want to use confidential computing for everything, right? But it turns out that when you're trying to go to customers, they say, well, how are other people using it, or what's a specific thing? And they need seeds to get in their minds. Once they've got it, they can think of other things. But this is a really, really important document, I think, and to be able to use that as part of our marketing materials, it kind of plays along with the marketing messaging, right? So this is a really important piece of work for me.
Oops, where am I?
Oh,
Okay.
there you are.
All right, are we moving on?
Yep, I'm all done. Hey, Helen, do you think we could capture these links in the minutes that I'm posting in the chat?
The one or both of them?
There's another one coming right now.
Ah, okay, I see it, yes.
All right. As for the analyst report, as Mike Purcell mentioned earlier, we're taking the member survey feedback into account and approach the analyst report with those priorities. And what we're working on right now is that Mike Purcell and the outreach committee will draft a proposal with the several options with our analysis by end of month, August potentially, and then we'll probably present to the broader group and then make a decision. Thank you, Mike.
I think we're also waiting to hear what the Linux Foundation folk can do exactly, aren't we?
That's right. Yeah, we need to check.
Okay, sorry, just reading down that. Sorry. Yeah.
Okay, so that's shaping up. And as we mentioned last time, we have a request for webinar link available now. So if you have any requests to host a webinar through us, please use the submission link so that to help us get organized. And there are two in the docket list here, which is the Gen X and Infer. We'll share out when we have these scheduled. Thank you, Helen, for handling.
So Gen X we're in touch just today, actually, saying that they are close to being able to put something together.
Okay,
in
perfect.
Touch with me and Helen.
Social media, not a significant change on the number of followers, but we did notice our impression on X now was doubled in June from May, which we believe our promotion activities around CC Summit brought a lot of these people's eyeballs into our page. But if you have any social posting to share, or you want us to retweet or anything like that, join in the Slack group, social media, and channel social media, and we can directly request to Noah there.
He's also very good at amplifying things. If you put Confidential Computing Consortium username in the LinkedIn or Twitter, he's very good generally at noticing that and then and reposting it, isn't he?
Do we have a plan? I mean, as Twitter continues its implosion,
plummet,
do we have a plan to maybe try and grow following? I mean, we should continue to double down on LinkedIn, but Threads or any of the alternatives, as it's probably too early to determine whether or not Threads is going to be a useful thing for B2B communications.
Yeah.
I think this is the
I
place we
heard
should
their
have that discussion.
usage. Right. I heard that Threads usage is also like dropped significantly too. So that fluctuate, like you said, it's still very early. So people, we're interested in testing things out, but I don't know how it is carrying on that momentum.
I mean, honestly, if I were LinkedIn, I'd be trying to work out how to jump on this and have a sort of quick messaging form factor, but I don't know if they're anywhere with that. But I don't think anyone knows really. Does anyone have a good feeling as to what's going to win, if anything? We're just going to change how we do this generally. I don't have a clue, frankly.
I don't know. I mean, I'm the last person to ask for insight on social media.
You're the
but
coolest of cool, Mike.
This, yeah, the thing that needs to be, it's I would imagine whatever B2B happens gets moved to LinkedIn as the primary.
Mhm.
I think anything else, kind of that short text-based B2B that you would pick up on Twitter, who knows where that's going to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can ask Noah for his consensus as well, what he kind of sees within his, you know, day-to-day work. And yeah, we'll just kind of keep our ears open. Okay. So if you were able to join CC Summit or not, the CC Summit recording is ready. So I'll also post on the chat, but this is the link that you can go sign up and sign in to get all the contents on demand.
So
think that's
I
it.
noticed that once you've got the link, I think it takes you directly to YouTube. So you can share specific sessions on LinkedIn, for instance, is what I've done. I think it's good, obviously, to point people at the actual full agenda and all of them. But if there's one you want to share, people don't, I think, need to sign up to all of them. You can share the specific link to a particular
Potentially.
session.
Right. The YouTube link is technically unlisted, and they are.
Okay,
Last time
sorry.
I heard from Jack was that they would love people to use the recording and share it out, but they recommend sharing, bringing people back to this CC Summit, this link, so that they can raise awareness of the summit and also grow the interest.
I'm a bad person, and I'll try and do better next time. I'm very sorry, Kate.
Right. That's what I heard from him.
But that makes sense. That makes sense.
Okay. I am going to, I had a list of things that I'm going to share the links here. And yeah, Helen, maybe you can include all the link that was shared on the minute. So that's all we have today. Does anyone have any other open topics or comments or questions? Last thoughts?
If we have a minute, could we maybe just open up the marketing messaging document so people can have a look at it and they can maybe think about how they could contribute? We've got a minute. That work?
Yeah, let's try it.
Okay, I have it here. Let me share it or try to share it.
Oh, Helen just did.
Oh,
Okay.
I meant actually share it on the screen so people can look at it.
Oh.
Here we go. I'm sharing it now. So this is it. So I know that other people have collaborated on this. We could put their names here. It's who are the personae we're looking to do. It's those sorts of levels of people. And here's some of the key concepts. Most of this is just my brain dumping into this document, and I am not a marketing person. So this is, luckily, some other people came up with some suggestions, I'm pleased to say. This is some of the conversation we've been having. So please come here. please use suggesting like this so that people can, you can see what's happening, what's changing. But we'd love people to think, to come up with some really good, snappy stories, which, push forward confidential computing. One of the interesting questions we have on the right here is, how much time should we spend differentiating ourselves from other PETs? Or frankly, do we just need people to know about data and use protection? And data and use protection currently not, oh, there it is, it's noted there, that's good. So, I don't have an answer to that. And I think greater marketing minds, or people who are marketing folks, like, many of the people on this, will have a better view on that. And I'd love to have your input, even if it's just a comment or some suggested, words. I think that would be really, really helpful, please.
Do you, are you interested in, because I mean, I look at a couple of phrases here and I'd say, never would get those by Intel legal. But is that a is that a concern for the CCC?
Not Intel legal particularly, but if it's stuff that might be difficult for our members to use, then we should change it, would be generally my view.
Yeah. Well,
so I mean, I never use that word on its own, for instance.
Yeah. For example, everywhere at all times, which is an absolute, Intel legal would say no. So, but then again, the CCC is not Intel Corporation and may have a different outlook on.
I think these are the sorts of inputs that we should have, because even if it's not, a legal issue, if it's causing problems for people using it, then we should fix it. Yeah, please comment here. This is really tricky because it's very difficult to defend. So I put the, we could say instead, even in use here. I mean, these are my words, right? This is somebody else's words. I'm not sure who put that in. Yeah, so please put these comments in. It's exactly the sort of thing we should be.
Yeah, I think I have the same kind of comment, like removes the risk. I think that's, nothing is ever risk free. So
indeed. So mitigates, I'm happy with.
Yeah, mitigate. I think it really depends, in some sense, I guess what we find is that one, there's little awareness, and two, the use, like going back to use cases, they vary. And so for instance, within an organization, they may just have specific use cases that they would want to use this, but not others. Like it's not a generally applicable thing. People aren't.
So
like,
the problem that we've run into is that even big companies, they can go into their customers and say you should be using confidential computing, and because it'll help your security story, and the customers will say, well, you're saying that, but why? I need who else is saying that, and we need some. Obviously the CCC has come up with loads of technical stuff, but we've never had a really good description of why you should be using this stuff, so that people could put on slides and say, this is what the industry says, and this is what's going on. So obviously people can shape this as they want, but we really want some messages that people can put in their slides or point to their their customers to the website and say, look, this is what the industry says. And we've done that in terms of, what is confidential computing? It's hardware-based, it's tested, all those sorts of things. We haven't done that in terms of the benefits. And I think that's what we need to be pushing.
Yeah. I agree with what you were just saying there, Mike, which is, the messaging that you've got here is, it's certainly, it's on the right track, and it's in the same lanes that I think almost all of us use when we talk about the functionality of confidential computing, when we're trying to describe what does it do. And I think the thing that the most successful marketeers of confidential computing are finding is they find the most success when it's bundled around a solution to a particular problem.
Which is why we need your use cases as well.
Yeah. Exactly. So how do I do confidential collaboration? How do I do confidential AI? You know, those are
Yeah.
the you know, how do I stay compliant when handling this, you know, personally identifiable information? Those are, I think, the that's the layer up from this. And
Yeah.
by the way, it's hard to do. I think of all of us will attest it's difficult to do.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that if you're a marketing person, it's very easy to do, and I'm just stupid and don't know how to do marketing, so I'm going to let.
I think that, yeah, if you go in with a description of technology and technologically based attributes, you'll get the glazed eyes. I think it
Well,
definitely.
exactly. So, and there is some description about that in one of these comments, right? So, you know, talking about volatile memory, other processing unit. I think that's the sort of thing I think we should probably avoid.
Yeah,
That's,
totally.
not just my view.
Yeah, like, you know, even like attestation, all these other things. You know, in the end,
Yeah.
these customers just don't want to necessarily dig into all those underlying things. But if you tie it to a CSO's, you know, kind of evaluation framework on like how they would approve projects or vendors or something like that,
Or what they get fired for if things go wrong.
Exactly. I mean, like, you know, I've answered enough of those you know, NIST, you know, questionnaires as a potential supplier, and there's like key things in there you say, well, this is like irrelevant because of confidential computing. This does not even factor into this, you know, kind of risk profile.
And that's why we're doing the work with the standards bodies, the CSA and NIST and people and the regulators as well. And it all pins together, right? It's all part of the same thing. Yeah.
Okay, well, the link is in the chat, right? So just poke in there a little bit.
And I'm sure Helen will put it into the minutes as well. Thank you for indulging me. Sorry, I've got so many plates that I'm trying to keep up in the air. It's really good to share them with some other people. I hope they don't let them drop as well. But let's work on this because I think
it's a challenge. So I mean, I face it all the time too. You know, every time we talk to a customer, we're going through like the same messaging experiment.
I was in a startup which failed, so you know I don't feel particularly well qualified to specify what our messaging is, but I've seen what is good as well. So cool. Thank you so much for your time, Kate. I think we've pretty much hit the top of the hour now, unless there's anything else anyone wants to talk about.
All right, I think we're good. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.
Thanks,
Have a great day. Bye.
Bye.